Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to What's Good 317. Welcome to the podcast about people, poverty, and wait, what? What is it again? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to What's Good 317, a podcast about people, poverty, and progress. Today, my name is Gigi, and I have with me AB.
Hey y'all, this is AB. I'm happy to be here with you all today.
I like how you're Gigi today.
Yeah,
just today. No other
just
day.
this hour. I also have Tanner over here.
I'm Tanner every day, just so we're clear about that.
Mads, Madeline, whatevs.
Mads and Alan.
What's good, bro?
So guys, any New Year's resolutions? 2020 here. Me personally, I kind of want to work on my volunteerism a little more. I feel like that's something that I kind of like am lagging on. I'm not, feel like I'm just not holding up my end of the bargain on that, you know. So I definitely want to find an organization that aligns with my, you know, my mission and the things I want to do in life, and put some time in, put some work in. What say you, AB?
Yes, well, same thing. I would like to volunteer a little bit more, but this year, 2020, it's an internal year for me as well. You know, I just want to really focus on the progress and the people that I'm around, and, you know, just continuing to grow as a person, so then that way I can like help the community more, you know, later on, you know. So
And he's focused on getting that check.
yes,
so
very much so.
well-spoken.
Thank you.
on getting the bag right now.
I would say I'm a mixture of you two, because like I feel like I can give back a lot more, but I also feel like I give a lot just personally to other people and not enough to myself. And like I feel like I can just feel that I'm unfulfilled in that aspect. So just focusing more on myself and like what I want to do to help with my happiness, because I like to focus on other people's happiness. And that obviously in return does make me happy, but just
Girl,
really,
do you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Say it louder for the people in the back.
Do you?
Not actually say
Oh.
it louder.
Got
Yeah,
it.
expression.
What about you, Tanner?
We're in a 10 by 10 room.
That's embarrassing.
Nah,
Oh, I like it.
I'm with you though, Maz. I think just for me, 2020, just really focusing more on self-care and my own mental health is, you know, just a journey that I'm looking forward to taking.
Yeah, I think really our group is kind of, I like to think I'm right in the middle. Like I am trying to focus on myself this year and really focus on like my health and, you know, go to the gym. I'm really good at saying like, oh yeah, I went to the gym, but that was like 3 weeks ago. And so maybe actually having like a recent gym story to share.
Yeah, maybe like a weekly thing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like, at least twice a month, like a bi-weekly trip.
Twice a month.
That's good enough for me.
Post before and after pictures.
Yeah.
Like for like
Before
your
my
weight
first
loss
one.
journey or weight gain journey.
Oh yeah, I guess
Whatever.
different
Whichever
kind of
one,
workouts.
yeah.
Depending.
Whatever you
I don't
want.
know. I haven't thought that far ahead.
Let's see the abs, Tanner. Let's see the abs.
See, abs or apps? What did you say?
I like both.
Your
appetizers.
abdominal muscles.
Appetizers.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, volunteerism is also super important. And for those of you listening, we also have Nate Lichti here in the room with us. Nate is the Senior Director for the Basic Needs Fund at United Way of Central Indiana. So Nate, what's good for 2020 with you? What are your New Year's resolutions?
Well, what's good, 317?
Hey.
First off,
Good, Nate.
it's good to be here. It's great to be a part of this conversation. And 2020 is a big year for me. My oldest and only graduates from high school in 5 months. So every day is pretty intense. And I've got a 3-word resolution that is fast, slow, and friends. Fast being that's just day to day, like focus on the moment, be active. Slow is about really cultivating meditation and mindfulness that I've been doing for a few years, and friends need to cultivate those friendships, have intentional time with hanging out and just being, but really cultivating that support group of people that I care about.
I find that the older I get, the less friends I have and the less time I have to be with them. So
Especially with Young
Yeah,
kids.
you know, young
Yeah.
kids. I have 2 young kids, and there's no time for nothing but changing diapers.
Yeah, all of my friends are having to do with my daughter's school.
Oh, my goodness.
That's reality.
Do you also think it's a choice? Like, do you think you're choosing?
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a choice. I mean, I could be a deadbeat dad. You know? Hey, see me when you see me.
Let's go out
You can see
tonight.
me when you see me.
Let that diaper sag there.
As the 2 people who don't have
Yeah.
like children in the room, Maddie and I are just trying to figure out what that looks like, because I could not imagine saying no to my friends for some little person being like, yeah, sorry friend, I can't go hang out with you. I have to take care of this.
See, but I do that with my cats. I'm like,
I
I
also
have
don't
to,
have a pet,
yeah, I have to
so-
stay in. The cats need me to watch them play.
That's
Oh.
That's good self-care.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right, that
I'm
is
staying in with the
self-care.
cats tonight.
You're staying on brand for your 2020 goals.
I really am.
Very good, very good. So, Nate, we wanted to bring you in here to talk about something that we know is near and dear to your heart, and that is public transportation and access to it. I don't know if everybody in the room has been able to take the Red Line yet. That's the newest, the shiniest piece of public transportation we have here.
And
in
it
Indy.
literally stops right outside our office.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I
So
can
we all
see the stop.
should.
Yeah, from this room, I can see the stop. I really like it. I think it's done great things for the city, especially down this one certain corridor of the city, and it's really quick. That's actually the first piece of public transportation I've taken. I know, shame on me for not doing that sooner. But Nate, I'm curious what your thoughts are. Is it working? Do people actually benefit from it?
Yeah, I think it's been a great usefulness to me personally, and the people that I ride with. I probably taken 200 or so trips in the 4 months, and I'm seeing people. I'm developing a community with the people that I'm riding with. Michelle, the young Heron high school student that I ride with, and the security guard that works across the street, we're always bumping into one another. And I know there have been complications with a number of people with route changes that have affected their ridership. But you know, the 15, 20 people that are on the bus when I'm riding every day, that's 15, 20 cars that aren't going, and people are delighted with being able to leave the car at home and take this alternate transportation.
That sense of community sounds really cool to me. I haven't been on it yet, but my friend Jody Pope, she rides it, and she mentioned the same thing. Like, she sees the same faces and kind of getting to know people, and these are people that she would never know prior to riding this Red Line. And that's really interesting.
Yeah, would you think that's like another benefit too, is just the sense of community? Like, obviously it helps with the transportation and getting people to jobs, and like even opening more jobs for people because it can reach other businesses and stuff like that. But having that sense of community and then that word of mouth and getting that around, I think is really beneficial as well.
Yeah. Driving a car, there's so many so many barriers to entry, and it's so costly to provide single transportation and longer commutes that we have to get to work. And so having the infrastructure, we need the infrastructure in place so that people can have access more universally. And that's really where, you know, we improve equity and public participation in this transportation.
So Nate, I know you were part of the volunteer team from Indigo to help with just navigating the Red Line. What do you feel like? What are some tricks to transit? Like, what are some tips that you can give people that may not have experienced the Red Line or done it yet? Like, how do we navigate the Red Line?
Well, one is just get on and ride. Take a trip. A lot of people, there was a joke. A lot of regular riders were calling the people that were riding for the first time, you know, the tourists on the system.
Yeah.
But a lot of people had fun with it. Beside the bar crawls, a lot of people would go from Broad Ripple down to Mass Ave to have dinner and back. I've seen retirees riding it to go down to the IRT to take in a show. I'm seeing a lot of people. One thing that was a real barrier at the beginning was a lot of people were trying to take bikes on the bus, and it's perfectly permitted, but too many people were doing it at first. And now there are 2 bike stands on the bus, and you can almost always fit them on. So if you need to bike to the bus, You can either lock it up at the station, or you can hop on and help. It helps expand people's commute. My neighbor does that. We have a 10-minute walk to the bus stop, but then he takes his bike because he's got about a mile after his last stop to get to the office. So you can do a lot of those tricks. You have to be planful. That's the thing about transportation. And I'm a multimodal commuter. I'll bike as much as I can. I do drive, but I share a car with my daughter. So we have to be intentional about what he is. So I think that's the barrier that most people have. But once you can routinize it and get into it, it's actually simplify. It can really simplify your life.
So when your daughter goes to college, who gets the car and who gets the bus?
We hope to actually get rid of the car. Hopefully someone else gets the car and I get the money. Because how else am I going to pay for college?
Right. Just gotta sell the car.
If you find out, let us know. If you find the trick, we're very curious.
What is the cost to ride the red line? I know at the beginning it was free, and then that's when I rode it when you didn't have to pay, and then I know they even extended that a little bit. But what does that look like now?
Yeah, do you have like a card that you like pre-fill or anything like that?
Well, yes, you do. I have one. Well, it's not refillable. There's a problem with the app. The full technology isn't being utilized or isn't set up yet. So they've had to do some alternative arrangements to make it work. You don't pay on the bus. You pay at the station. So you can pay for a ride. A ride's $1.75, which is what it's been forever. A huge advantage, though, is now you get a 2-hour ride window, so you can ride and transfer. Whereas before, people who were riding this, and because the routes just were so limited, they'd have to transfer and pay another $1.75. But you also get capped at $4 a day. So if you're using when the app's out, you're not going to spend more than $4 a day, and you have a weekly cap and a monthly cap. So whereas before you'd have to, if you wanted to buy a monthly pass, you'd have to spend $60. Now, if you're going to ride it all month, you just pay $1.75. Once that hits 60, you're done and you got free rides. So they've changed the rules and parameters so that riding it is way more cost effective. It's still kind of similar to what their ride costs were, but it's going to be more efficient and cost effective for users.
I've taken like the buses or trains, whatever, in Chicago, and like they have a whole thing where you have to scan a card to get in and then take the bus. But that's not like that here. So how do they like prevent people from getting on the bus who haven't paid? Like the doors don't just shut in front of your face.
Yeah, so they have fare inspectors that are going around, and they've only been introduced for about a month, and so occasionally you'll just encounter a person in a yellow vest, and they'll validate that people have a ride pass. And if you don't have a ride pass, I think you can get fined. It's like a $40 fine, but you also get left off at the next bus stop. So it's a user responsible service, and we kind of have to have a culture in this community that isn't going to abuse that and is going to take care of it. I see a lot of people if someone's stuck at the bus stop, they'll help. We'll hold up the bus. We'll try and wait to make sure that they get through the checkout process or what have you. So there's been so much support amongst the riders, and I got to give a shout out to the bus drivers. I've called them the unsung heroes of 2019. They had to learn this whole new system, had to bring in a whole lot of new bus drivers because we've increased the frequency of all the whole bus system. And they've had to shift how they operate. Fortunately, on the red line, they're not there to do fare inspection, and they've got a second person to do that, which is going to speed up the service and everything. But all of those features, I think, are really going to be beneficial long term.
So you talked about like the ridership and the bus drivers and how it all benefits them, but what about the organizations and businesses around them? How is the red line and other transportations helping?
There's some nonprofits that are right on the red line. There's a lot of businesses and restaurants, and so I can only imagine that this is boosting traffic for them too. So Right now it's just sounding like a win-win for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and that it was intentionally planned so that we hit a lot of businesses, a lot of employers, and a lot of the nonprofit social service network. We've got about 15 United Way agencies along the Red Line. We did rides down to Southeast Community Center with representatives from BOSMA, who serve the visually impaired, and fathers and families. And so all of those populations, their clients, they're thrilled about being able to access a more reliable system and to be able to provide a subsidy that isn't just going to be lost. Because if you gave out a paper card and it was just lost, you didn't know if it was used. In the future, we'll be able to upload money to an app and get people access. Alan and I also been talking. My neighbor Alan, we got together at a new coffee shop, Proof Rock Coffee up at 52nd and College. I love my new local coffee shop. And AD, did it work out for you?
Yeah, no, it was beautiful. It's right down the block. I think that what's so cool about it is like it's right outside of a red line stop. There's the Monon Trail there. You could take the trail to get to the red line. You can stop and get some coffee while you're waiting on the bus to come. Even though like the buses come like every how often? 10 minutes, so you don't got a lot of time. But you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Right now, fast. Hurry up! I gotta be outside.
No, they got a self-serve station. So
Really?
yeah, I think I haven't timed it yet, but I think you can get in and out pretty quick. Yeah.
So just listening to all, I mean, you get to go to new places you haven't gone before, you get to meet new people, and it's only bettering our city. So I'm just curious, like, what are people even saying? I mean, I've heard some things, but what are the skeptics saying, and like, what can we do as advocates for the red line to, put those naysayers down, I guess?
Yeah.
Tell you, I can't turn like I want to now.
I was gonna say,
That's about the only thing. Yeah,
let's list what the naysayers are saying.
the naysayers are saying that you can't make the right or left turns that you used to be able to. You got to go all the way down to the light to turn. But that's really the only thing that I've really heard.
It's funny because like when I used to work downtown before I worked here. I mean, this is technically kind of downtown, but like when they started building the red line, like everyone at my old office was very like anti-red line just because of the commute. And like I honestly thought because they took up a whole lane on Meridian that like I was like it's gonna take me forever to get to work, like it's gonna be impossible. But it's like you just like are cruising, and it honestly is not that big of a difference.
Well, and then I also know not just about the red line, but a lot of folks who don't live or have access to where the red line goes, like that direct route, are saying like that's great there, but like over here on the far east side or like the west side, there's nothing for us, or like even on the south side to an extent. And so maybe Nate, is there plans in action to help combat some of these criticisms?
Yeah, I mean, Red Line's phase 1, and there's 2 more phases already funded and ready to go. And we just really need the infrastructure, the city leaders to continue to support Indigo in their effort to expand. The purple line will be next, and that'll serve the far east side up along 38th Street. And then the blue line will serve Washington from the far east, from the east side to the airport, I believe. So I think the expansion is necessary, and all of the naysayers and concerns, I think, been very important that we counteract all of the frustration with construction, and there are service blips in the system right now. The delays on the My App and all those things. And I just, as a user, if we're not continually engaging in it, we're not going to see the improvement we need. And right now, I see one of me and 5 primarily car drivers, as derogatory as that is.
Shame.
But of the 6 of us, I could see in a year or 2, it's 2 out of 6, and then 3 out of 6. But it's going to require the expansion of the system to really improve that connectivity. So I just can't bang that drum enough about we got to keep it going.
I want to know who decided the colors. Like why red, why blue, like why not like
Yellow.
teal or like
Yellow's like, well, maybe not.
No.
I don't know. Maybe
Lime green line.
Lime
Yeah.
green line, I like
Lime
that.
line.
Well, I know there was criticism because it's the red line, and then they brought out green buses.
Oh yeah.
We
Just
can't.
after the confusion,
Yeah.
I know. We're fueling their fire.
It's like I'm waiting for the
basically.
red line and a green bus goes by. I'm still waiting.
Yeah,
It's not
still
it.
waiting.
If you haven't ridden it though, one of the features is since it's all electric, it's so quiet.
Yeah.
And there are USB chargers
Which is
all
so
over the bus.
nice.
So
I know. I guess we're just gonna have to work from the red line.
Honestly, I'm down for it. We can
I
just
didn't
plug in
know
our
it was all
computer.
electric.
Yeah.
Tesla technology?
My favorite is the middle part. It's like, how do you describe that? Where it's like, it connects kind of two buses together and it
but
swivels.
When you're turning,
Yeah.
it's like a sharp turn. And you're
It's like I'm on a roller coaster and
I
I'm
get
here for
nervous. I
it.
got nervous
I
when
like
watched
it.
It was-
I've got a great video of Max riding it. One of our colleagues that was trying to surf it, and I'll have to post that. sometime.
Yeah.
Please do, because I would love to see what I can only imagine is a slightly failed attempt.
Yeah.
And that makes it so much better. So much better. So maybe it's because I'm a good old Southern boy at heart, but I'm thinking about people who live like on the outskirts of the city who public transportation just isn't something that's even feasible for them. Do you think that that's something down the road that we here in Central Indiana could expand to the outlying areas of Central Indiana?
Yeah, well, I think that it is a real challenge. I mean, the way that our city has grown, we have parts of Marion County that we have a hard time serving because of the layout of the subdivisions and so forth. But the rural, the suburban and the rural counties surrounding us, we've got a major transportation issue with those communities. I mean, issues of access across multiple food, housing, and transportation are all very keen or very tight up there. And so I can pick a word. It's prominent, I think. But so the needs in those areas are very significant. There are rural transportation providers. There are a lot of providers that provide point-to-point transportation services in those areas, and it can be a costly model. They're serving thousands and thousands of people with rides to work, to appointments, and to grocery stores. So there is, but there's another scale of that needs to develop. There has been expansion with the Indy MPO and with CERTA. They've been doing a lot of commuter connect and expanding bus lines out to Plainfield and to the job hubs. And we've got downtown partners that are like Flanner House and the Urban League and Ed Martin come to mind, who are putting shuttles together to get people out to jobs that pay a living wage out in Lebanon and Columbus. And those efforts are connecting, employers that need the workers and workers that need the job. So those are really ongoing. Whether or not those efforts are going to continue to take subsidy and require investment by us and the public sector.
Can you give any shout outs to any organizations who are not in this Marion County who are doing a good job of providing that subsidy for transportation out in those areas?
Yeah, Sycamore Services, Hendricks County, Senior Services. I think they partner on serving folks in Hendricks County. They're providing a lot of transportation to the elderly and to persons with disabilities, and they are also providing services in Morgan County. So they've had to expand based on demand and the lack of capacity in other communities. We've also got, it's interesting, a lot of the other transportation work has been provided by after-school programs. We've got Y's and Boys and Girls Clubs that are providing transportation to get kids from the schools to the centers. And a sheriff in Hancock County praised how important that is because it's given kids the safety and the network so that they're not latchkey kids. They're not at home wandering the neighborhoods, causing trouble. So I think those providers are unsung heroes of the transportation space. That's really part of the infrastructure that we have.
So, Nate, I've loved hearing some of your insight into, and I think we all can. I should just speak for everybody, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
You got it.
We
We
all
agree.
love your wisdom into public transportation and really helping to explain the utility of the red line and just why we need to keep advocating for these things. And so that kind of brings up something that I'm curious about, and I'm sure the rest of us, millennials, and hopefully other generations, are curious about. But are there any policies right now that we should be following? I know we're in the legislative session right now. It's a shorter one because it's not a budget year. But is there anything we should be following in that realm?
Yeah, I don't think there is anything at the state house this year, partly because it's a budget year and they're going to have a short session. I think it's most important to look at city and federal. City-wise, I think I don't think there is a particular piece of legislature on the agenda, but we need the mayor and the city council to be supportive of Indigo in pursuing, because Indigo really, whether it's permitting or what, they really need to have the cooperation and partnership with all of city, and they're very symbiotic. They're very good partners, but the political support is key to changing the public narrative. And so we need to make sure that our voice of support gets heard by the city leaders.
So what kind of things would you suggest the public to do to, get involved in the fight to better?
To be a champion for
Yeah.
public transportation.
It comes down to personal things for me, challenging assumptions about bad service, about it, maybe just serving the white middle class and not expanding service to the community that has needed it for generation. And so I think that wasn't really well said, but did it make sense?
No, that was horrible.
Yeah. Redo that.
That's exactly what we expected.
It sounds like what you're saying is we just need to get out and ride it and support the system.
And shout out to Inez Evans at Indigo, the new CEO and president. Doing a great job navigating all this.
I think that, like you said earlier, there's in this room of 6 people, there's only one person who frequently rides the bus. So I feel like I'm challenging y'all
Field trip.
to don't drive into work next week. I want to see all y'all on the red line.
I would have to do a lot of walking to get to the bus stop.
Bus buddies? I know in elementary school.
Honestly,
we had
yeah.
bus buddies.
Especially- no.
That's who made sure I got on the bus.
Yeah, no,
Like, you guys
especially
should be
because
bus buddies.
they should actually make that a thing for people who don't know how to use it or do it. Buddy up with someone who is a pro at it to just show you the reins. Let's start a Facebook group.
Nate's gonna be my bus buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nate is my bus buddy. He can be our bus
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
gonna commit. We're going to lunch Monday.
And then we're working on the red light.
Are we all agreeing to that?
Let's do it.
We'll take a photo and post it to the gram to show that it happens.
And
Hold us accountable.
you said there's a 2-hour window, so
Yeah,
we could pay $175, go eat real quick, 30 minutes, hop back on the bus, and only have to pay one fare.
Yeah.
And Upland, which is close to a stop, has Taco Tuesdays.
Ooh,
So
we
hold on,
love
yeah.
Taco Tuesday. Name who did that? Name that. Anyone? LeBron James? No.
You didn't do it right, but that's what
So Nate, I got a tough question for you. So you're on the red line, right? Are you listening to a podcast or are you listening to music?
I'm listening to a podcast all too often. That's part of my slow. I need to slow down on that. But I listened to you guys the other day, so it was
Oh, thanks. I was really hoping you say music so I could hear what you were listening to.
But it's also great that he said our podcast.
Yeah. We know where the view's coming from.
Right. Pick your battles. Pick your battles. Yeah, so thank you for having this great conversation with us, Nate. And I think Maddie has something that she wants to...
I didn't have anything to say. I was just going to say, let's say thank you to Nate for
right,
being on the
Nate.
podcast.
Thanks for stopping by.
My pleasure.
Pleasure having you.
Keep up the good work, guys.
Well, thank you.
So going off of the whole 2020, what we're doing good, we're going to share a good story of the month this month, because that makes sense. So last episode, we touched on a family who, what was it again?
So they moved out of central Indiana, and as soon as they moved away, the husband was diagnosed with cancer, and they just left their support system, but rather than feeling left out, the people that they had befriended and loved here in central Indiana came together and raised a lot of money for them, so that way they could cover some of those medical expenses. And that just made us feel really good to know that, that Hoosier hospitality does extend outside of the state as well.
So the good story of the month actually it has to do with people, but it has to do with dogs. I have a soft spot for dogs, so I just had to go with this. This is from our friends over at RTV6. The headline is, after spending 2,461 days in a shelter, a 12-year-old dog finally found her forever home. And that obviously captured my heart instantly, especially with this photo of a little dog in the back seat. So basically the dog spent pretty much half of her life in Marion County's Grant County shelter, and it was a boxer pit bull mix. Staff members at the Humane Society would call Sandy the boss because she was actually there longer than most of them, which I think is actually really crazy. And so a couple named Aaron and Carrie Rhodes ended up taking her home so the dog could be spoiled for the rest of its life. And the couple was actually longtime supporters of the shelter, and they actually recently lost their family dog due to old age, and so this was obviously just a perfect fit. And what I think is really cool about this is that they sent Sandy off on a Friday afternoon with a red carpet, dog treats, and balloons for her Freedom Walk, so she can have her lifelong loving home with that couple. And the Marion Grant County Humane Society is actually a no-kill shelter that works off donations and the resale shop, which I think is really cool, that the animals, no matter what they are, how old they are, they'll still be there for an adoption. So if you guys ever want to get more dogs or cats, you guys should check them out.
I think everyone here learned a lot more about the utility of public transportation and just how great it is. So thank you for enlightening us and everyone else who's going to listen to this. We also would like to say thank you to our sponsor, United Way of Central Indiana.
We love you.
Yeah, we love you. Thank you for making all of this possible. Wouldn't be without you. And then also, we want to remind you to tune in next month, where we will be discussing housing and access to housing here in Central Indiana. So I know we'll have some good thought leaders in the room to really talk more about that. And we have a few other events we want to talk about as well. We have our Elevate Trivia event coming up, and as well as our Elevate Gala on February 29th. So if you want to do more to support access to quality housing here in Central Indiana, show up to that event, show out. It's a really great opportunity for young professionals especially. And then obviously follow us on social media at What's Good 317.
Oh yeah.